The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com. And on November 17th and 18th, the StarCityGames.com Open Series comes to Seattle, and this event is going to be huge. We're talking hundreds of players, a standard open with $10,000 in prizes paid down to 64th place, a legacy open with $10,000 in prizes paid down to 64th place, at least 16 players qualifying for any SCG Invitational in 2012 or 2013, live coverage all weekend long courtesy of SCG Live, and as much Magic the Gathering as we can pack into one weekend. So make plans to join us when the StarCityGames.com Open Series comes to Seattle, and we'll see you there. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Magic Show. Now, this week we're going to go over the incredible pomp and circumstance that is Modern Masters, what it means and who's going to benefit, some standard goodies, along with my reaction to WotC now beginning to hide certain deck list results from Magic Online. Let's go. Up first is Modern Masters. Now, here's the skinny. 299 cards, 8th edition through Alara Reborn, and includes a foil in every pack. Now, what they also share about the product is that it is designed to be drafted, which I kind of thought every set was these days, but they make a huge deal out of it being a conservative print run. No, seriously. Aaron Forsyth repeats it in like 4 different ways in his article. They're only making a little bit of it. The box only holds 24 packs. It's going to be a whopping $7 MSRP per pack, and they really aren't making a lot of it. It's not even redeemable online. And you know what that means. It's time to get all buddy-buddy with your friendly local game store and ask them what it would take to get you a box reserved with your name on it. My guess is you'll be able to get it for the bargain price of $167.76. This is, by the way, full MSRP. This is also my guess to be passed by very quickly in the secondary market. This thing has Tarmogoyf in it, for God's sake. Which means new foil Tarmogoyfs will exist. What else do you expect? This set is going to let them reprint all kinds of crazy, powerful, and good stuff like Dark Confidant and Solar of Temptation without ever having to worry about it impacting standard. It also includes never before printed tokens. And did we mention they're not making much of it? Except, enough to cover an entire sealed GP in Vegas next year? Hell yeah, Vegas! This set is probably going to see its highest distribution at a single tournament than any other. So if you like making money and you like hard to find cards, I would put that event on your radar. Now, what do I think? I think Wizards took a great idea, Masters Edition on Magic Online, and just made it for paper. What I think is most interesting is that they stopped at Alara Reborn. And you know what that means? It means no Zendikar reprints. That means no fetch land reprints. So the price of fetches continues to rise even if the rest of modern staples get a shot in the arm. With Wizards being incredibly cautious about ensuring that this is not Chronicles 2 screw over your collections harder, you best believe they will seriously underprint this set. It'll be a big success. Wizards will act totally surprised, and when Modern Masters 2, this time with fetch lands, comes out, I'll get to say, I told you so. With this thing a very long way off, I'm not too concerned with it right now. We have a third set for Return to Ravnica we don't even know the name of yet. And do you know that Gatecrash is another large set with another 249 cards to dump in the standard? Modern Masters is a cute diversion, but ultimately a product I would have rather waited to know about, and instead tell me the name of the third set already. But let's talk about Standard for a moment, shall we? This past weekend's Dallas-Fort Worth Standard Open was won by Blue-White Flash, which looks like a Delver of Secrets deck that forgot the Delver of Secrets. For God's sake, look at it. The best blue-white spells you can find, the most unfair creatures in those colors, are Runechanter's Pike to kill you with. GG. The top 8, however, was super interesting. Let's take, for example, 5th place, which featured a blue-white humans list, which looks a whole lot like the Tomohiro Saito deck I posted about a few weeks ago. Matter of fact, it's only 2 cards different in the main deck and 8 in the sideboard. Among the sideboard differences is a sweet one in the form of Riders of Gavany. I think I'll name the creature type Zombie. Attack step? But you know what I really notice here? Just look at how much white cards have infiltrated the metagame. 7 of the top 8, 13 of the top 16. Not sure we'd call this a problem, but it's definitely a trend. Honestly, I think we're beginning to see the domination of Angel of Serenity and Thragtusk. There's no question that Thragtusk is the best creature in Standard. The thing has been printed in 2 event decks, and it's still $25. There is no doubt that Angel of Serenity might be a touch overpowered, but what do you do when the going gets gets tough in Magic, you go bigger. These days, we've seen Craterhoof Behemoth make its way into Reanimator decks and Ramp decks of all flavors, and I've even seen Nicol Bolas Planeswalker, yes, really, showing up in Chromatic Lantern control decks. And if you haven't seen them yet, Chromatic Lantern decks are sweet and will be making their way to Standard soon. You heard it here first. But now it's time to talk a little bit about formats, how to solve them, and what contributes to said solving, and how Wizards' new policy might not work at all. I'll be right back. The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, where you can now order Return to Ravnica boxes, cases, fat packs, and more with great prices, excellent customer service, and the world's largest Magic the Gathering singles inventory. StarCityGames.com is your one-stop shop for all your Magic the Gathering needs. Visit us on the web at StarCityGames.com and order Return to Ravnica today. Welcome back. Now, if you weren't paying super close attention to Twitter, or perhaps the Wizards forums, you would have never have known that Wizards R&D actually changed their policy regarding the publishing of Magic Online deck lists recently. Here's exactly what that statement said. Ultimately, we feel that publishing every deck list leads to solving constructed formats far too efficiently, resulting in early stagnation. That's not fun for anybody. We still want to show new deck ideas every day and provide insight into the Magic play environment, but we don't want the metagame development to be purely a function of data analysis. Going forward, we'll still provide the winning deck lists from all Premier Event top 8s. We'll also show the 4-0 and 3-1 deck lists for one completed daily event in each format per day. Alright, now before I go off on the deep end on this, let's discuss the pros and cons. First, pros. Doing this will, perhaps, slow down the metagame evolution. What Wizards is basically fighting is the constant grinding to the best deck. We've seen it now a dozen times over the years, over and over. In years past, however, it did legitimately take longer to get here. Back in the Affinity days, they didn't even use Aether Vial at first. Matter of fact, that card was seen as crap. No, seriously, for some non-zero amount of time. It was crazy to say that the Affinity deck needed this card that, cast things for free for the rest of the game. I'm just going to pontificate that in today's world, if Darksteel had been released with this kind of scrutiny and microscope our releases get, it would only be a few weeks before we went from, is Ravager good, to, oh my FG, ban it now, versus the months of build-up that deck got back in 2004. The other pro is that the metagame can't just be solved by data analysis if this is enacted. Before, you could just load up everything from Magic Online, run some stats, make some charts, and voila! You have solved yourself a format. At least based on the decks being used in it and the players involved. Now here's where I get to the cons of the argument. First, the metagame is going to get solved anyway. Let me discuss this in metaphor. Let's say you're looking at the Mississippi River. That thing is massive. A huge torrent of water that runs right down the middle of the United States. It's fed in part by lakes, smaller rivers, streams, brooks, and every other waterway you can think of. Now, imagine, if you will, that the Mississippi River is the metagame. Each stream and lake and brook, those are each tournaments. Some big rivers like a GP or Open Series event. Some very tiny like a Magic Online daily event. But they all feed into the river, and this flow of information ultimately forms your metagame. Now, if you're still with me, let's say we put a dam on some of the smaller waterways. This will, somewhat, slow down the river and keep the water level somewhat lower. But it will not stop the river. It will not dry it up. In some instances, it may not affect it at all. With so many different sources of water, who's to say that turning off a few of them or slowing them down actually affects things? And this is my sticking point. The number of Grand Prix and Open Series events are not slowing down or getting fewer in number. With an increased Grand Prix schedule and the debut of StarCityGames.com Classic events this year, there are only more tournaments with more results to pick apart. Even Wizards themselves said that they're going to continue to post one daily's worth of info, along with the Premier Event Top 8 deck lists. If you truly want to make an impact, just cut it all off. If you're looking to provide an experiment of sorts, then don't half-ass, go whole-ass and see if this can actually make a difference at all. I don't think it would make much of one. I think it would cause people to watch a lot more replays and report on their findings as articles and podcasts. Big testing teams would have one or more persons whose sole job it is to watch replays and catch the tech early and often. But I think after a while they would find that the same metagame being developed on the Open Series and the Grand Prix circuit is the same one we see now, refined and honed to a sharp point. The player base would still find that Thragtusk is overpowered and white is the best color, that Angel of Serenity is ridiculous and zombies are now not powerful enough. Me, if I were WotC and I wanted to enact real change, not just some halfway measure, I'd change up how they release sets. I mean, Think about it. Over the course of Magic's history, one of the few things that stays constant is the release schedule. Big set in the fall, followed by two more sets in the block, a core set in the summer. I think this move is just trying to band-aid what I think is the real problem. The time between released sets, and how WotC is doing the best they can to not alter this schedule. After all, you have dozens of people whose jobs and lives depend on this rock-solid schedule. There are years put into set creation and its release, and tinkering with this release in any way is literally tinkering with Wizards' entire business model. They are not going to do that lightly, and quote, metagames that get solved a bit more quickly than is comfortable doesn't sound like a reason that gets very far in the boardroom. But if you want to change, the real kind, then you gotta start at the top, not at the bottom where a few deck lists live. Change how cards and effects and spells enter the standard environment, and I'll show you a different standard environment. So that's another show, folks. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and feel free to follow me on Twitter, where I discuss all things magical frequently. Until next time, Magic players, this is Evan Irwin, tapping the cards so you don't have to.
I always like the fatties.